Hello everyone, my name is Kirby G with Kirby G's Points and Miles, and in this video I want to talk a little bit how, in my specific case, the Delta Reserve pays for itself. So a little bit about how I got the Delta Reserve card and its benefits. So I actually originally applied for a Delta Gold card at the Minneapolis airport with a Delta Gate agent. They gave me a no annual fee for the first year, a normal sign-up bonus, nothing elevated, but it was my first taste into Delta credit cards. And with my work having Delta as its preferred airline, that definitely allowed me to enter the Delta ecosystem a little bit more. After about 10 months, I want to say, holding the Delta Gold card, they gave me an upgrade offer to the Delta Platinum card, and then 12 months later gave me another upgrade offer to the Delta Reserve card. Every time they gave me an upgrade offer, they gave me a statement credit as part of that upgrade offer, which basically offset the difference between the two cards. So what I mean by that is that when I went from the Gold to the Platinum, they gave me a $200 statement credit, as the fees went from $150 to $350, and then I went from the Platinum to the Reserve, they gave me a $300 statement credit, which to offset the difference going from $350 to $650. So for this first year, I like to say I have the Reserve benefits, but I'm only paying for a Platinum. The other part of that upgrade offer was a nice 35,000 Delta Sky Miles. Now this card is not an earner from its multipliers. It just gives you 3x Delta Sky Miles per dollar spent on Delta purchases and 1x Delta Sky Miles on everything else. And as I said, there's a $650 annual fee. It is a hefty one. Something that this card does have right now is an Amex offer for some people that does give you an extra 3x Delta Sky Miles per dollar spent on gas. So that is my use for this card right now. It is my gas card earning me 4x Delta Sky Miles. Some other benefits, it does come with a $200 Delta Stays credit. Now this credit renews upon calendar year, which I want everyone to take a note of. Then it also comes with $20 a month for Resi restaurants, which is a total of $240 per year, $10 a month rideshare credit, which is $120 per year, 2,500 MQDs towards Delta Medallion status. It basically gets you halfway there to Silver, the lowest rung. Also comes with an annual companion certificate that renews upon your account renewal date. So specifically with the Delta Platinum and Delta Reserve card, you must hold the card for 1 year before you get that certificate, and that certificate is good until your next renewal date. A fun little trick with this card is that if you have the Delta Gold card and then you upgrade to the Platinum or the Reserve right before your renewal date, you might not just get a nice upgrade offer, you will also get that annual companion fare right away because it's based upon the life of the actual account, not which card you hold. So when you upgrade, you don't have to wait a whole another year for your companion fare, you get it right away. You also get off 15% Delta flights whenever you book using points. So if it's a 100,000 Sky Mile flight, you only have to pay 85,000 Sky Miles. Then this card also gives you 15 Delta Sky Club visits and also some access to the Centurion Lounge as well while flying Delta. So as long as you're not a business traveler that's flying around the country every single week, 15 Sky Club visits is probably good for most people. So how I wanted to use the Delta Sky Miles Reserve card in my use case was planning a Caribbean getaway. My companion fare was expiring. I originally had a plan to use it right almost when I got it, but unfortunately those plans fell through and I had to find someone else to go with me. So I'd never been to the Caribbean, but with the recent refresh of the Delta cards, they did add the Caribbean as an option. So you can fly anywhere in America, the Caribbean, Mexico, or Central America, and have the opportunity for that buy one, get one free ticket. I also knew my passport was expiring in November, and I took this trip back in May of 2025, so I didn't want to have to deal with any weird customs things. I knew it probably wouldn't have been an issue, but just to be on the safer side, didn't want to have to deal with customs. So the U.S. Virgin Islands seemed like a great fit. I'd never been there before. It has some beautiful beaches, and it is just an absolutely amazing place. And being an American citizen made getting in and out of the country quite easy. So specifically, what uses did the Delta Reserve have on this trip? In the future, I do want to make a video specifically about just the trip alone, talking about every single credit card I used and what different points I used other than the Delta Reserve card. But since we're just talking about the Delta Reserve here, I'll save that for another video. Specifically, the flight was $474.71. This was the companion ticket I got for my Delta Platinum card, so I could only use it for main cabin flights. I just got my Delta Reserve companion fare since my annual fee was hit about a couple days ago. So that will allow me to do either a first class or most likely a Comfort Plus companion fare in the future. But for this flight, out of pocket was $237.35 for me. And the hotel was a total of $598.16 for 4 nights at the Bunker Hill Hotel. Great little hotel, not the best location in the Virgin Islands, but it is, I think it was a pretty good bang for the buck. So I also stacked my $200 Delta Stays credit. So like I said, I've only had to pay for half of that. So it's only $99.08 out of pocket for me in this case, which, like I said, for 4 nights at a hotel, great value. The total out of pocket cost for this trip for the hotel and the flight was $336.43. And what the Delta Reserve saved me with its benefits was $437.36. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the Resi and rideshare credits. Now, I do not value these credits at their full amount. I do not go out of my way to use them every single month. If I'm hungry, don't want to make dinner, I might look up a Resi restaurant and just try it out and definitely get either a free meal or a discounted meal at least. Rideshare, I don't go out of my way to use, but if I'm going out with some friends, we all carpool, maybe I can be that person to raise my hand and pay for that Uber. This is also something that I can use when I'm traveling. If I'm looking for a good place to eat in a new city, maybe I should check out Resi, see what the reviews are, and see if that lines up. Like I said, I won't necessarily go out of my way, but I do like how Resi is a great way for me to find new restaurants in my area. So something that I want to highlight here on Resi's map, so I won't link exactly where I live, but I live a little bit east of here in Irvine. So this just says east of Irvine. Maybe this Angelina's Pizzeria is a good option. I do like Italian food. I do love spaghetti. I love pizza. So like I said, maybe I could eat over here. I'm not feeling Italian. Maybe I can try whatever that is. Or if I'm in Newport Beach, I can go to the Royal Hen. Like I said, there are so many options. And I do want to say, like, driving from where I am in this area right here, like, there's not something exactly near here, but this is probably probably 15 minutes away. And if I'm making a day trip to Laguna Beach or Dana Point or Newport Beach here, there's so many options that this is, a credit that might be a little hard to use if I don't want to make dinner and I'm feeling lazy. But whenever I'm going out here in Southern California, there are so many options here. I actually thought there might be a few more, but in my case, I do not see myself having a problem to use this credit. Will I have to go out of my way? Maybe a little bit, but if I'm trying a new restaurant, to me, it doesn't really matter what the restaurant is. They're all on an equal playing field for me, so I may as well make it a Resi restaurant. I also wanted to highlight where I used to live in Wisconsin and look at what I've been able to use this credit there. Now, I lived in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin here. About 45,000 people, decently sized city, nothing special, kind of on the lake. Lake Winniseptic, this is not a great lake, but it's a lake. If I really wanted to use this credit, the only place that really would be viable on a consistent basis would be this steakhouse right here, which got that $3 sign. Probably not something I'm going to casually do. This might be a once in a blue moon kind of place. Again, Rippon's probably about 45 minutes away. I'm not going to go out of my way to go there. Probably another 35 minutes away. This up here is about 40 minutes away. So, like I said, if I was living in Wisconsin still, this credit would not be great. If you're down in Milwaukee, let's just do Milwaukee. All right, you got some more options here. But unless you're in Milwaukee, Madison, or you live near one of these restaurants, Happily, this credit might not be for you, and that's okay. You do not need to use every credit every month to maximize your card to its fullest abilities. You just have to know when you are making the credit work for you and when the credit card is convincing you to spend money maybe you shouldn't have. So overall, what do I think of the Resi and rideshare credits? I think they're great when they work, and they are great for showing me new restaurants, but I shouldn't be valuing them at their full potential if I'm not using them every month, and if they're maybe sending me to places that are a little bit more expensive where I normally eat. So how do I quantify MQDs and lounge access? It's really hard to look at, how much does it cost to go to the lounge on its own? Maybe it's about $35, $50 to enter a lounge. Now, I'm not going to pay that if I don't have free lounge access, or if I'm bringing in a partner, I might do that. But on my own, I'm not paying for that lounge access. I'll just go to a Chick-fil-A in the airport and enjoy my food there. What this lounge access does do is that whenever I need to fly, I normally have to fly with a layover. And so if I have a Delta Sky Club there, I can go there, eat food for free. And so on the year, I value it about $80. Some people might value that a lot higher. Some people might value it zero. For me personally, $80 is just a number that seems right. The MQTs itself, I can't assign a dollar value to. Without them, I probably wouldn't hit silver medallion status. So that's nice. And I've gotten a lot of upgrades because I've had silver medallion status, a couple first class upgrades on some small regional flights. So that's cool. But I wouldn't have paid for those out of pocket on my own. So really hard to assign a dollar value there. But if you're someone that is hunting Delta status very hard, I could see people putting a lot of weight on this benefit. I do know that RJ from the Stack Your Points channel has 2 reserve cards just so she can hit silver medallion status right away. And, that helps jumpstart her on her Delta medallion hunt. So, for her, that has a lot more value than it does to me. And so I really have to think about, in my use case and in your use case, how would this work? So overall, how much value do I get from the Delta Reserve? And I put value in quotation marks for a very strong reason. We'll get there shortly. For the companion fare, technically this is my Platinum's companion fare, so it's not really fair to put it in here since I just got a new one for this annual fee that just hit. But just for the sake, we're going to put it there, $237. Delta Stays, I take that as a full benefit, $200. Resi and the rideshare, $50. Lounge access, $80. Basically gives me my overall savings from the Delta Reserve, $727.36. Now, what does that number even mean? Let's dig into it. So this card costs $650. I got about $720 out of value at the minimum. I don't think about the Amex offers, but what other miles I got from the spend and all that. Let's throw all of that into the bucket. Let's not even think about the $300 statement credit that I got, which maybe puts this over $1,000. What I really want to think about is, what does value truly mean? So what is value? If my minor in philosophy taught me anything, it can mean really whatever you want it to. But for the specific case of credit cards and the Delta Reserve card, I really want to highlight that with annual fee cards, you are prepaying for things. Nothing is truly free. When I paid that hotel, that $200 was not free. I had already paid for it. Well, technically I just paid for it right now, but you know what I mean. I am prepaying for it now to use later. With my Resi credit, if I spend exactly $20 on dinner after the tip, that was a free dinner. Well, maybe not really. I paid for that dinner right now that I'm going to have next week. You got to think about it that way. But at the end of the day, is the cost of this card worth all of the benefits that you're getting? And for every person, that number is different. Some people say that if you have to do math to figure out if a card works for you, then that card's not for you. Now, I do tend to agree with that, but for me, I like doing the math because I'm a nerd and that stuff is fun to me. So for my specific use case, I don't really care. But with this card, it has allowed me to take vacations I wouldn't have taken if I didn't have the card. And to me, that's truly the only thing that matters. I would not have gone to the U.S. Virgin Islands if I didn't have this credit card. Now, some people might say that I am spending more than I naturally would without the card. Well, yeah, if I didn't have this card, I probably wouldn't be traveling at all. If I didn't have any credit cards, if I never thought about points and miles, I wouldn't have gone to Europe. I wouldn't have gone to the Virgin Islands. And, that sounds like a pretty boring life of me just sitting around playing video games all the time. But these credit cards have encouraged me to travel. The Delta Companion Fare, you might have thought in your head when I said I had to bully a friend to join me and it was about to expire that, man, like, you aren't getting true value of the credit because you forced it. And maybe I forced it, but I took an awesome vacation. And that is really the only thing that matters. This card has allowed me to take more trips. I am, when I do my budget, I'm not spending more than I make. I think that's the first step with credit cards, if you want to back up all the way to the beginning, is that when you have these high annual fee cards, you need to make sure that the money you are making is more than the money you are spending, and you are okay with spending some extra money on traveling. And if you are, then have a blast. Does it truly matter that I'm spending a little bit more money because I have this credit card? That's up for you to decide. Or maybe, your opinion doesn't matter because that's up for me to decide. That extra probably $650 that I spent in the Virgin Islands, I probably would have spent maybe like, on that 4 days spent, I maybe would have gone out to eat, and I would have maybe would have gone out for some drinks with some other friends, and maybe I would have got had to pay for a couple more Ubers, and I probably would have had to spend money anyway. So I'd rather spend a little extra money to go to the U.S. Virgin Islands than spend some money to just go out to the local hometown bar. Like, you have to think about everything, or maybe you just don't have to think about it at all, and you can just have a great vacation, because that's kind of what I'm doing. Now, I like to do the napkin math to make sure that this card works for me, because, like I said, that concept and that process is fun for me. But for you personally, when you are looking at whether it's this Delta Reserve card, or if it's the United Club card, or if it's the Delta or the Amex Platinum card, you don't necessarily have to do the math for every credit to make sure it works. But the only thing you have to ask yourself is, am I comfortable paying the annual fee up front? And do I think the benefits will work for me in a way that gives me some little extra value I didn't have before? And if the answers are yes, then go ahead. Don't let anyone in the credit card community or anyone on Reddit tell you otherwise. These are decisions that you can make, and if at the end of the day you're happy making them, that's the only thing that matters. So now that my little preach session is over, I just want to thank everyone for watching this video. Go ahead to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any differing opinions from me, go ahead and put them in the comments below. If you love this video, can boost my ego by liking the video, subscribing. I'm on the hunt for 100 subscribers, so I'd love to hit that number as soon as possible. Thank you all again for watching the video, and have a great rest of your day.